Is the SView case for the Galaxy S23 UItra worth it? What can you even do with this screen? And how does it compare to last year's version? Stick around and we're going to find out. This year, Samsung made some significant improvements to this case, but they also took a couple steps back. First, let's take a look at the improvements. If I open the cover on both of these cases, you'll notice right away that Samsung has now added a card slot to the inside of the case, and this was one of my biggest complaints about the case last year, so it's great to see that Samsung's added that in. The card slot area is a bit concave to mold to the shape of a card, and it can only fit one card. If you try to cram in a second card, it simply won't fit. And if you're okay with the cards not fitting perfectly fine in there, you can still technically get it to close, but it doesn't close very well and it does kind of lift up a bit. The second thing you'll notice is that the material that touches the back of your phone on the old version was kind of like a microfiber feeling material, and on the new one, it almost feels a bit more like suede. The first step back you'll notice has to do with this cutout. It's notably smaller than last year's cutout, but that's because Samsung needed extra space to fit that card slot in. Personally, I think this was definitely the right way to go because I'd rather have a card slot and a slightly smaller screen area than no card slot at all. And in case you're wondering how much information you lose on this smaller opening versus the larger opening, it's only a couple letters worth of text. There's one more issue caused by this cutout being smaller, but you're not going to be able to see that until I put the phones in. So let me go ahead and drop those in and we'll take a closer look. Putting the phone in is very easy. It just presses right into all four corners with no issues. But once it's in, it stays in. Now that I have the phones in the cases, it's a little easier to see what I'm talking about with this cutout. On the previous generation, the cutout was big enough to give you plenty of room for your cameras. The new cutout is not quite as big, so your first two cameras have plenty of space, but your third telephoto camera doesn't have quite as much space. But surprisingly, since this is a telephoto camera, it's actually zoomed in past this frame here. So while it looks like the cutout's going to obstruct the camera lenses, I haven't actually noticed that in real world use. Now obviously if the cover moves around a bit, you will start to cover your camera lenses, and this was true last year as well, but generally speaking, you're not going to have an issue with that. And that actually brings up another really good point. These are full cutouts, so I can just put my finger right through this. On previous generations of the SView cases, there used to be a protective clear covering, and that would obviously make your pictures not come out as nice, so it's good to see that Samsung's made this just a cutout instead. The next downgrade has to do with the buttons. So on the previous generation, the buttons were super tactile, and now they're tactile, but by comparison, they do feel a bit spongy. And you definitely need to press harder on the new case to get the buttons to activate compared to the old case. And now I'm going to move my microphone a bit closer so you guys can really hear the difference between the two buttons. In terms of the case material, Samsung made another significant change there. The previous version almost felt like a fake leather, while the new version feels like a soft silicone. And rubbing my finger across both of these, I can tell that the old version is a bit more rough feeling, and the new version is much more smooth. In terms of protection, that stays the same as last year. You still get full coverage all along the bottom, the sides, and the top. And the back of the case is raised up more than enough to protect the cameras. So in terms of drop protection, I'd say you're going to be pretty well protected with this case. Just like last year, the cover does support the sleep wake feature, where when you lift the cover, your screen wakes up, and when you close the cover, your screen turns off. There's a speaker cutout at the top of the cover, so you can take calls with the cover closed, but it's just as comfortable to fold the cover all the way back and use the phone like this. Taking a look back at the cutouts, there's a couple things I want to point out. First, the USB-C cutout is plenty big enough to fit basically any cable you want to plug in there. And the S Pen cutout is pretty well recessed. You can definitely use the pad of your finger to still click the pen out, but that'll make the pen almost even to the bottom of the case, so you won't really be able to grab it out with your fingertips. You will still need a fingernail to get that out. Another important thing to know about the cover is that it doesn't stay closed magnetically, it just kind of drops into place. And if I tip my phone, it'll just open back up. And the reason this doesn't have any magnets is because if you put magnets in this cover piece here, or on the edge of the case here so that it would actually connect and close, it'll start to mess with your S Pen input, and then there would be certain areas of your screen where you wouldn't be able to use your S Pen at all. So while it would be nice if this held closed magnetically, it makes sense why Samsung doesn't do that. If you want to fold the case back and use it as a kickstand, you can technically do that, but you have to get the angle just right in order for it to not topple over. So this will work fine on a desk, but I wouldn't do this somewhere where you think your phone might fall off of something. Wireless charging does work, and it'll show you your charge percentage as well as how much time's remaining until your battery's full. And in case you're wondering, wireless power share also works for charging something like a Galaxy Watch. Now that we've looked through all the physical features of the case, let's take a look at some of the software features, because let's face it, the reason you purchased this case was for this screen right here. And if you're wondering how I got these animated backgrounds, stay tuned because I'm going to be showing you guys how to do this in a little bit. If you swipe over to the left, you'll be able to see all of your notifications. And when you tap on a notification, you can see all the details within that notification, just like you can from the lock screen, including images. The one limitation is that your only interaction options are to open the application or clear the notification. Conversely, if you swipe down on a notification from your lock screen, you get extra options like quick replies to text messages. And these are just not available when looking at your notifications from the SView window. And that's true regardless of whether you're using Google Messenger or Samsung's built-in Messenger. If you're playing music, you can swipe to the right to see what's playing, and you can pause the music, or skip to the next track, or skip back to the previous track. Swiping further to the right, up or down on this screen doesn't do anything, but if you tap it, you can open up your cover, unlock your phone, and it'll take you right to the music app. And while you can still adjust the volume with the cover closed, you won't be able to see what the volume level is actually at. The SView screen is useful for more than just notifications and music controls. If you get a call, you'll be able to see who's calling and either answer or reject the call. Alarms can be dismissed or snoozed on this screen, and you can also see the alarm title if it's a shorter title. You can restart or dismiss timers. However, you can't see how much time is left on the timer. All you can do is swipe over and see how much time was originally set on the timer. But if I tap this, I won't be able to see how much time is actually left. And the same is true for stopwatches. All you can see is the fact that a stopwatch is running, but you can't see how much time has passed. This is certainly enough space to add stopwatch controls as well as timer controls, so I'm not sure why Samsung hasn't implemented that yet, but hopefully they do sometime in the future. You can dismiss or snooze calendar appointments, and you can see the main title for the calendar appointments, but you can't see other details like any notes or the location of the appointment. But if you tap the appointment, you can open up your cover to see more details. A couple notable things that don't show on this screen is a camera preview. So if I try to open up my camera app, it'll just tell me to open up the cover. And there's no quick toggles or shortcuts, so you can't do anything like turn on your flashlight. And in case you're wondering, if you take out the S Pen, you can interact with the screen, but you can't write any notes in here. You will have to open up the cover screen to start writing notes. However, if you started taking a screen off memo, then closed your cover screen, then reopened it later, it would take you right back to where you left off. The only time this screen off memo will go away is if you tap save or put the S Pen back in the silo. Even if I turn the screen off here, then open up my cover again, it would still take me back to the screen off memo. And in case you're wondering, swiping up or down on your main cover screen doesn't do anything, but if you long press on it, you'll be able to customize your clock. And there are a bunch of different customization options, and if you scroll all the way to the end, you can change your cover screen settings on your main screen, and that'll make it a lot easier. In terms of clock options, you get a few different animated options. So this first one is a bunch of animated characters, and if I tap customize, I can see all the different characters that are available. You can choose a specific character, or you can shuffle through all of them. And if you choose the shuffle option, you'll get a different character every time you turn on or off the screen. The next option is an abstract blob number. Right now, this is the number 4. It doesn't quite look like it, but it is 442, and that's what that blob is supposed to represent. And if you tap customize, you can select a specific color that you want it to be all the time, or you can shuffle the colors and it'll be a different color every time you turn the screen on. You can also change the text color if you want, and if I tap here, you'll see that the text for the battery percentage, as well as the date changes. And you can even pick a very specific color by tapping the color wheel. Another animated option are these animals, and if I tap customize here, you can see that you get a tiger, a monkey, some type of a mountain goat thing, as well as a rabbit. Tapping text color here, again, allows me to change the time and date colors. Next, we have these two circles, and these ones are actually interactive. So if I accepted this one and closed my cover screen and tapped, you'd see that the colors would start to change every time I tap the screen. And if I tap customize, I can keep it on shuffle, which allows me to change all the different colors, or I could select a specific color combo. If you leave it on shuffle, it'll show a new color pair every time the screen turns on. But if you select a specific color, it'll default to that color and stay that color every time you turn the screen on. However, you will still be able to tap it to change the color. Now it's going to stay that color every time I turn the screen on and off. The next option is a slightly animated analog watch face, and there are 5 different options here. You get something that looks like a seal, a sea turtle, a polar bear, a panda bear, and a whale. The last animated clock face is this digital clock face here, and if you tap customize, you can change the colors that the bottom number will be, or you can keep it on shuffle and it'll cycle through all of those colors. Changing the text color does not change the color of the top number, that will always be white. It just changes the color of the battery percentage and date. And in case you're wondering, the color on this one does not change when you tap it, but it does change every time you turn the screen on and off. The rest of these clock options just give you a bunch of different types of clock faces, and if you tap Customize, you can only change the text color. However, if you tap this box up here, you can adjust the background, and you can also pinch in or out. And something that a lot of people don't realize about this background is that you can actually create an animated background. To do that, go to Clock Background Image, then navigate to any one of your videos. So I have a few here in screen recordings, so I'm going to tap that. And from here, I can select more than one video. So I'm going to go ahead and select all 3, then tap Done. Now it's going to tell me that 2 of my videos are too long and I need to shorten them. So all I need to do is tap the scissor icon, and it'll automatically cut it down to 15 seconds, but I can adjust it to however much I'd like. And if I'm happy with that, I can just tap Done. If my video is a lot longer than 15 seconds, I can tap this and move the 15-second portion to somewhere else in the video. From here, I can then pinch in or out to zoom into a specific portion of the video. When I'm done making those adjustments, I can tap Set on Cover Screen, then tap Done. Now when I go to my cover screen and I turn the screen on and off, it'll switch to a different video. And to be clear, this works with any video you have on your device. So if you have a video of family and friends, you can use that too. And if I want to add more pictures and videos, I just tap the clock image at the top, then tap the plus icon, and I can select more videos or images. So now it's going to cycle through the videos and the images. And in case you're wondering, you can use the always on display with this SView screen, and the clock style will match whichever clock style you have set. So if I change it to these big numbers, then turn my screen off, you'd see that my always on display now reflects that style. So at the end of the day, can I recommend this case? The answer is yes. If you're the type of person who loves flip cover cases, it doesn't get much better than this one for the Galaxy S23 UItra. You get loads of protection while still being able to see quick details at a glance. And while the buttons are a bit less tactile this year, Samsung did add a card slot and add detailed notifications as well as more interaction options. I'll leave a link in the description and pinned comment if you want to pick one up for yourself. And if you want to learn how to make your case even better with this thing, check out this video over here. And don't forget to subscribe and turn notifications so you don't miss my deep dive coverage of the S23 UItra. That's it for this tech episode. God bless, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.